Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome, guys, to the first ever episode of Dad's Dunya. Now, I know you guys might be thinking, what on earth? What on earth? What on earth is happening? But don't worry, all shall be explained. What you'll find out very shortly is this is actually something that has been in the making for about almost a year and a half, almost 2 years, a year and a half. But you're going to find everything out, inshallah. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hand it over to Muhammad, who you guys will know and have seen on previous episodes of Freshly Grounded, to explain. I'm putting him on the spot here.
Wow.
Explain Dad's Dunya to us.
Oh, okay.
Assalamu alaikum, Muhammad, first of all.
Wa alaikum assalam. Thank you for...
We literally haven't really chat like...
No.
Have we?
Yeah, I had a few technical difficulties. And that's a good place to start, really. Dad's Dunya has been one big technical difficulty since we came up with the idea ages ago.
Yeah, it's true. Look at my mug, by the way. I got the puppet mug just for this.
Oh, man, I wish I had something. I've got nothing, bro. But
no, I won't interrupt you. You're right. So Dad's Dunya has been a bit of a technical mishap.
Yeah, we wanted to do... So, I think it kind of started before Zakaria was born, right?
That's correct.
And it was before my second son was born. So we wanted to do something in terms of some sort of project around fatherhood for young Muslims, and especially young Muslim dads out there. We weren't really too sure what to do. I think we knocked around some ideas. We won't expose all the ideas because some of them we might still use, some of them might be surprises. But we've been knocking it about for a while. But yeah, things got in the way. Probably more so on my end. I think I've got such a erratic schedule. And then sometimes we just weren't sure if even Freshly Grounded was the right umbrella or whether it should be its own thing. Yeah. But I think you've had some really good success in terms of doing other, I don't know, channels, if you want to call it, on Freshly Grounded, or other avenues of content that are doing really well. So we thought we'd try it out here. What it is right now, though, this may not be its ultimate form. It may lead on to more things, but I thought we'd just get it out there, get the whole idea out there, I suppose.
Yeah, man. So as you said, obviously it's been in the making since. So before anyone knew that we were expecting Zakaria, you obviously knew, right? Like my close circle knew, and so I said that I wanted to do something that could document my journey of becoming a first-time father and kind of release it all like in, I don't know, some kind of documentary format or something at the end, right? Because it would be beneficial for like future first-time Muslim fathers. Yeah. And at the time I was speaking to you about it, I really wanted to work with you on something, and it just fit right because you yourself were a young dad, and like you said, I think at the time you had maybe two boys, or
I had one at the time. Yeah,
fine, one.
I had one at the time.
And now you have two.
Yeah, see? Right. Wow, close circle. You know this.
You had three. I thought you had three.
No, bro, the third
my
child
close
is me, bro.
circle.
No.
Okay, so anyway, I was thinking, like, it'd be cool. Like, there's nothing for Muslim dads, young Muslim dads, to, like, not teach people how to be a dad, right? Because we obviously haven't been through teenage years. We haven't been through our children being teenagers and stuff like that. But more so to document our journey as we go and as we grow as fathers. How about that one? And so
that might be the tagline that we've been searching for all this time.
It might be a bit better than For Dads by Dads. So then. We actually started creating content. So started creating content back then before Zakaria was born, and the idea was to release it, after the birth, right? Just to, like, inshallah, like everything kind of go well and stuff like that. And then you're being very polite and humble by saying that there was difficulties on your end, because while there probably were some difficulties on your end, I think the ultimate difficulty was me being like really stop with it. Like there was parts of me there's parts of me that was so that I always get I always get different ideas, and I think that you would relate as a creative, that you get all of these ideas, and sometimes you just don't know which ones you should implement. And I felt strongly about this one, and then at other times I felt like, you know what, Freshly Grounded is not on its own 2 feet yet. I need it to grow, and I need to make sure that I don't do what I've done in the past, which is when things get tough, kind of move my vision and over to something else, and then I never get far anywhere. And so I think that, alhamdulillah, that was the right decision at the time. That was kind of topped with this idea of me wanting to leave social media. So those people who would have followed Freshly Grounded or me for a while would know that I went through this 5-month period of being completely off social media, and so our Dad's Dunya coincided with that period of my life where I just felt a bit uncomfortable with the idea of, I don't know, like living a life on social media and stuff like that. And so I was all confused, and because of that, you I suppose were like on the receiving end of that with this amazing project that you wanted to partner with me on as well, and then it kind of never got started. And then to bring it back full circle, then now with Zachary being 14 months, what had happened is I like you said, we started doing these other shows on Freshly Grounded, made halal and that kind of stuff. I've got someone commenting on the comments saying like buffering, so I don't know if that means that like we're, and then kind of never got started. If we're not on or something. I don't. Are we on? Can you see the stream?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're on. Yeah. Mine's broken, so I can't. Oh, yeah, we are on. Oh, okay, fine. I don't know what that was. Anyway, so I'll bring it back full circle. Zachary is now 14 months. And, oh, man, that person. I don't know how to block someone, I don't think. But if I can...
Oh, I didn't see. I only had top chats on. I didn't have live chat. When I put live chat, it comes up with all sorts of things.
I don't even know how to... How can I... I have no power on this. Oh, I'd have to do it on the YouTube app. Okay, no worries. Who cares? So, bring back full circle. Zachary is now 14 months. And... I said to you, hold on a second, I've really enjoyed doing live streams, and there's something about live streams that just what's the opposite of grinds my gears?
I don't know, bro.
I enjoy live streams, and I think there's an element of it being live. I think there's an element of like really being able to interact with people straight away, and I really enjoy it. So I thought, why don't we do it as a live stream show? So the current idea for Dad's Dunya is a conversation that Mohammed and I will have once a week, but not necessarily on the same day every week. Are you comfortable with people knowing why, Mohammed?
Yeah, because I'm working in emergency services, so we've got shift work, and because of that, I can't say, oh yeah, every Saturday, or because every week is a different sort of day for me. So yeah, that's the main reason. So
for that reason, we won't say what day, but we will once a week do Dad's Dunya, and it will, inshallah, always be a live stream. It's always going to be live, and that's the beauty of it. We can just have a live chinwag, a live natter about fatherhood. So Mohammed, if you guys didn't know, has 2 children, also news to me.
Amazing.
Also news to me. I had been thinking that he is a man now with 3 boys. Little did I know that he only has 2 little boys.
You never know, Akhi. You never know. Maybe you're thinking of things to come. You never know, bro.
So where we're at right now, if anyone's never watched Freshly Grounded, has no idea who we are, and you just like Dad's Dunya. By the way, this is not just for dads, by the way. This is for mums, and it's also for anyone. If you just want to see 2 guys chatting about fatherhood, you're more than welcome. You're invited to the party. So anyone who doesn't know us, Mohammed has 2 kids, 2 boys. Allahumma barik, may Allah bless them. And I have 1 son currently, 1 boy, Zakaria. So that's the intro of DD. For dads, by dads. But also for everybody else.
Oh, dude.
Going and growing.
How are you finding it?
No. How am I finding what?
I don't know, being a dad and you're drinking out of a papa mug.
This is gifted to me. Yeah, I'm enjoying it, man. I'm enjoying it. Let's start with you. I've nattered for 8 minutes now. So I'll hand it over to you. How are you finding it since we last spoke?
Oh, since we last spoke, I don't know what I said last time, but alhamdulillah, it's a blessing, bro. Absolute blessing. So I've got Suleiman and I've got Ilyas. Suleiman when is he going to be 4? He'll be 4 in May. and Ilyas is going to be 1 at the end of this month. Bidnillah. So decent age gap. I think it was always going to be interesting to see how Suleiman reacts to obviously having a new baby in the house. Like, I've got that on camera. I think you should do that, inshallah, if you ever go down that road. And it was really nice, bro. It was really sort of heartwarming and stuff to see obviously him saying, "Oh, look, who's a baby," blah blah blah, that kind of thing. And yeah, they love each other, bro. You can tell. Suleiman's learning now, like, a lot more. Like, he's just getting to that point where he'll copy everything you say. Like, you just have to be really wary about what you're saying. Like, even yesterday, I was like, "Oh, that sucks," and then he just kept going around saying, "That sucks, that sucks,"
really,
all day, bro. And I was like, "Oh my god, I need to be careful," because we've just started. We've just started looking at schools now, because he's at that age where you have to sort of start looking at, putting in places schools, which came around like super quick, man. I had no idea. Like, it wasn't until my wife told me, like, "Oh, you do realize we've got a deadline." I was like, "What? He's already at that age?" I was really confused, but had a look at, and it makes you think, bro. Like, you've got to be really wary of your child's behavior, because you don't know how much of that is going to be sort of thrown back on you. Like, anything. It could be, whether he's too rough, or things he says in jest, but might be taken as, how are they teaching him, what are they raising him with, and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's really scary.
Yeah, man. And even like what schools to go to. I mean, I know there's the whole discussion about homeschooling versus traditional schooling, and in places that have Islamic schools and Muslim schools to go to, or schools with predominantly Muslim, or a lot of Muslims that go there, then you might be safe. But down here, there isn't obviously a big Muslim community, and especially where I live, all the close schools to us are like heavily Christian dominated schools, to the point where one of the schools I looked at, which was like the second closest to us, was on their website. They were just going on about how they want to enforce British values, and if there are things that do not conform to British values, they'll be raised. Like, that was on the website. It wasn't even
really?
it was really like in your face kind of Brexit kind of thing going on. I was really intimidated by that, because initially we had a discussion saying, hey, a Christian school might be actually more beneficial than we think. We should look into it. We don't know how Christian it's going to be, or how, do you know what I mean, how heavily it's going to be, but then there's going to be core values that we're going to align with. Do you know what I mean? Such as, the values that all Abrahamic faiths have. But with things like that, man, it was like, really heavy, making statues and crosses and singing hymns and all this stuff. And I was like, oh, this is a bit too in your face. There's no balance here. So it's the battle you want to pick, really.
Well, I was going to ask, is Suleiman in nursery, or did he not go to nursery?
So he was in nursery, and then COVID hit.
Fine.
And we kind of weren't really sure whether to keep him in. We took him out, but he's going back in a few days, inshallah. But we don't know how long that will be, because it's kind of like back and forth, isn't it?
Does that worry you, him going back in? Or not really, because
I don't
you're
know.
in emergency services, so you're exposed like more than anybody.
I mean, so actually on that note, the younger one had COVID last week or a week before. Yeah, so I haven't been to work in like almost a month, and that's a combination of some annual leave I took. So I took about a week off, or 2 weeks off, or something like that. I went back to work for 2 days. On the second day at work, my wife told me, Ilyas is really sick. Oh no, he was really sick, and I came back from work, and he was ill. And then the next day I had work in the evening, but before I could go to work, he was so sick. I went to Jum'ah, and while I was at Jum'ah, an ambulance came and took him. And I didn't know, to be honest, it was, the symptoms he had was stuff that he'd had before, like similar to bronchitis and stuff like that. He's had bronchitis before, and the doctors and stuff said, oh, it's bronchitis. Like, he's got bronchitis. Like, don't, you know what I mean? He was in the hospital for about 6 hours until they sent him home. But because of my job, it's mandatory that we have to take tests, and we have to isolate if someone's got symptoms, even if they say that, even if the doctors don't say it's COVID, I have to get tested. So I took them that same day, got them all tested.
How do you get children tested?
So, have you had a COVID test yet?
Yeah, I've had a couple. Sorry, your Ilyas is 1?
Ilyas is, about 1 year old, almost 1 year old.
Fine.
So we could only really do it like do that swab on the nose because it was very difficult to get it down to his mouth. But it says on the booklets, I've done like 4 tests now. It says on the booklets, I think you can just do the nose for the kids.
Yeah, well, you can even just do the nose for the adults, bro. You know,
Oh right.
in the UAE, when you do a test over there, they just do it in your nose.
Really? Fair
Yeah,
enough.
so I don't know why they do it in the throat as well in the UK. I'm assuming, I don't know, is it
I
just
don't know.
precautionary just to get as much data as possible?
Possibly. Yeah. So we did that, and then a couple of days later, we get the results, and I'm still like not at work, and it comes back with me being negative and him being positive. And at this point, I started getting a cold. Really, I started getting sneezing and that sort of thing. Um, and I kind of texted him, and I text my work, and I was like, "Oh, it's a bit of a weird one. My son is positive, and I'm negative, but we're both kind of ill." I don't know how he would have picked it up without any of us picking it up. Because the thing is with babies, like they're never anywhere without you. You're always going to be with them, and you're, if anything, more protective over them. Do you know what I mean? Like you're the one feeding them, you're the one changing them, you're the one looking after them. So it was really kind of out of the blue, which made me kind of doubt the whole, not the authenticity, but the accuracy of tests and how accurate they are. But I was speaking to a friend of mine who happened to be a doctor a couple of nights ago, and he said to me that it's actually more likely that you get a false positive, so that you've got it and the test doesn't pick it up, than it is likely for the test to say you have it and you didn't. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I suppose there's also those elements as to like whether you grabbed a good enough like swab and stuff as well, right? So
Possibly.
it could say that it's negative because it didn't detect that bacteria on you, but that bacteria was in you. You just didn't necessarily do the thing right. Yeah, I know a few people who have COVID or have had COVID, but what's happened is they're very close relatives, like their household. No one else in the household has got it, even though they're like with them or close to them, or like you're saying, like a child has it, and
Yeah.
you as a parent haven't managed to contract it. So it does seem that although it's like really contagious, that for some people it's also, I don't know, not
Yeah.
contagious.
Yeah.
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
it's
It
gonna
seems.
it's gonna affect people differently. You know, whether there's a test that I've heard about that will allow you to know if you've had it in like the past, I don't know how many months. So it's like a retrospective test.
Yeah, I
Um,
believe that's called the antibody test. I might be wrong, but I
is
suppose that
it?
what the assumption, like I have not got a very good vocabulary with regards to this stuff, but I'm assuming that means that once you've had it, perhaps your body produces antibodies to it, and
Yeah.
therefore, if you have the antibodies, that means that you have had COVID. We probably sound so dumb because there's probably like 90% of people do understand that vocabulary,
It's it's
and
it's bro science. Don't worry, we'll
yeah,
we'll figure it out.
yeah, exactly.
But what about you? Like, are you scared? Or do you protect your kid a bit more? Are you a bit more? How are you handling it all?
So as you can tell, I'm working from home.
All right, I couldn't tell
For the
actually.
most part. Yeah, this isn't my studio. Oh, does it look
Oh,
like a studio?
yeah. I mean,
Really?
there's a couple of screens. There's a door.
Yeah, I screen. I screen. I do
Go on
public
then.
screen. Um, yeah, I of course. Obviously, very recently we knew of a family we knew of a family who their family member died. Right. Inna
Okay.
lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. They the uncle passed away. And I think my dad told me yesterday again, like one of his friends' uncles again. So, you know, because we've seen this around us and stuff. Yeah, we're fairly cautious, man, about it. But with regards to bringing it back to like being a dad, um, I don't know. I guess yeah, like I don't let just anyone and everyone see Zachary, and for the most part, especially over the past couple of weeks, like Zachary has not really seen anybody. But yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of like I think I've got a good balance of like not being extremely like not carrying on with life, but at the same time, like I said, we haven't gone out, like I haven't even seen, you know, my own dad or and stuff like that for a while. Like we do a lot of family FaceTiming and stuff now.
Yeah.
So, what I will say though, bro, is I filmed Zachariah's day to day. So that's
Yeah.
the thing. Did I tell you about that?
No.
So that's the thing that I that's the
Oh,
reason I
that
got
what you were
delayed.
doing.
Yeah. So today my wife and I decided that you know what, he's 1 year old, you know, a few as of like I think last month, and
Yeah.
it would be really cool to film like a day in the life of Zakaria, maybe even every year. And especially right
Yeah.
now with COVID and the pandemic, it's like it's crazy time, bro. It's like hard to
Yeah. Yeah.
believe, right? And
Yeah.
so we filmed a day in his life today. So from the minute he woke up at 6:30 this morning, I filmed literally him waking up. I filmed me making his milk and like feeding him like as he woke up, and then him playing with his toys. And we filmed his entire day. We took him for a walk, filmed that, and all the way until he went to bed.
Mm.
And it's really cool because you get to see, imagine now you get to watch like a really high quality. I mean, I guess in them, like by the time he's 18, this will be like 4K will be nothing. But
Yeah.
imagine you get to see like a really well put together video of what you did in a whole day when you were one, and then seeing
Yeah.
that we were kind of explaining in the video like we're in a pandemic right now, and we have been pretty much your whole life. Like, you know, when you turned 4 months or something, we had to go in lockdown, and you
Yeah.
spent the majority of your life in lockdown, like, which is not normal for a child. You know, most children by your age, you know, they like to go to play centers and stuff like that. I would say though, bro, is I haven't got another child to compare him to, but I do have nephews and nieces and stuff.
Yeah.
And I do think that for the most part, alhamdulillah, considering he's a lockdown child, like he spent the majority of his life not seeing many people. He's really, you know, he doesn't seem to be like damaged by it, you know, like emotionally or mentally.
Yeah.
When we could and when they were open, we would take him to play centers. Like after the first lockdown, they started opening play centers, and
Yeah.
his grandparents are just so active in his life. Allahu Barak. So, and we've got big families, both of us, and so because of all of these things, in occasions where things loosened up, we would utilize that a lot. And even in the first lockdown, what we did is, we'd have like people come to like the garden, and then like they would sit in the garden and we'd sit in the house, and they would interact and stuff. So I think he hasn't missed out on that. But yeah, I think the saddest thing as a father right now in this past year, you know, outside of, you know, the health concerns, is just not wanting your child to their growth to be stunted, like mentally
Yeah. Yeah.
or like emotionally, right?
No, definitely, bro. Like I remember when we first took Suleiman to nursery, bro, that week he was coming back with so much like flair, bro, so much new knowledge. Like the things he was doing, the things he was saying, it was crazy, bro. It was just, you could see where you're, you know, I know it sounds really like, I don't know, the economics of it all, but you can see where your money's going, really, because you can see it. But
Spoke like a true dad.
yeah, well, you know, got to think
But
of
I
the
do crazy
finances.
things now. Like I'm like, who turned the? I'm like, do we need the bathroom radiator on 3, or can we have it on 1? Like I'm like thinking about all these things that I
That's
never
a
would
good
have thought would
idea,
be
bro.
me.
I never even check the settings on the actual individual radio. I might have to start doing
Yeah,
that. Yeah, I'll have a
bro.
look.
Because some of the there's in my house there's heaters in some places where a heater is not really required.
Okay.
Yeah,
I like
behind a sofa. So I'm like,
Yeah.
does the behind the sofa radiator need to
Yeah.
be on like a 3? Sorry, carry on. So
No.
you're seeing that where the finances are going.
Yeah, but obviously when this lockdown happened, I did have that concern. Like it's fast approaching that he's going to go to school, and there's this big sort of chunk of not education, but yeah, I suppose it is education actually that is kind of missing. And then you can't help but compare your kids to other kids or even yourself in the past. Like my youngest sister is 10 years younger than me, and I remember when she was 3. Like I've got videos of me and her like playing and stuff when she was 3, and I was like comparing her vocabulary to my son's vocabulary and seeing like are they the same? Who's more advanced than who? Because you, especially when it's obviously your first, you're just like, oh my god, is everything all right? Like, is there anything I should be watching out for? Is there something wrong here? But if you know, I suppose even now, like with my second one, I'm thinking like there's certain things that he does, and I'm like, was Suleiman doing more at this age? Like, is everything okay with him? And you just can't help but think. The wonderful thing though is like you've got, you know, iPhones and stuff and photo albums
Yeah.
where you can literally, like what we do now is we'll literally go to the date of a video of Suleiman and compare it. So I'll be like, okay, in this video, Suleiman was exactly the same age as Ilyas, so let's compare what they were doing. Because we got concerned at one point that he was taking a bit too long to crawl. And I was
Okay.
like, oh, is he
You
okay?
can't tread down that path. That's
Yeah,
dangerous
so I was
path.
like, oh. And then I looked up a video of Suleiman, and I was like, oh, look, Suleiman wasn't crawling at this age. But a week later, he was. And I was like, oh, subhanAllah, we've got a week. We've got a week. So, You know what? Funnily enough, it was literally a week later, and he started actually crawling on his own. So we were happy at that point, alhamdulillah. But yeah, it is a dangerous path to crawl on because there's one of the brothers that I think we both know. His son is a bit younger than Ilyas, but his son's like walking whilst holding on the sofas and stuff. And I was like, oh, is this once again that shaitan creeps in your mind, bro, and you think, oh, is there something wrong? Is there something I should be concerned about? But you've got to really accept that all kids, I suppose, mature differently and they do things differently, don't they? Different rates and different.
Is Ilyas older or younger than Zakaria?
I think so. Like I said, Ilyas is going to be one on the 31st of this month.
Oh, okay, fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, Zakaria is like past one now. He's
We've got a lot of comments, bro.
Yeah. No, I think there's a debate going on about COVID in our
Oh
chat.
no.
Would it be tier 4 if there wasn't?
There's going to be a lot of this. Is COVID real? Is it a hoax thing? Just to address it very lightly.
No one was asking you to address it.
No, I'm going to address it really lightly.
Oh no!
It does irk me a little bit. Is the first thing is it's easy to talk to have that discussion when it hasn't touched you. It hasn't touched you and your loved ones and your family. The second thing is that it's easy to assume the internet is the real world, and the media is the real world. Like, you need to get out there. You need to go into hospital. I mean, not everybody's got, not everyone's fortunate enough to be exposed to that kind of thing, to see what hospital wards are like, to see how people are suffering. And I praise Allah first and foremost that I've been in a position where I've been on both sides of the spectrum. I've been, involved in the sort of enforcement side of the whole thing, when it comes to fines and lockdowns and all that stuff. But I've also been like knee deep in wards where people are just virtually on top of each other in the middle of COVID wards. And you can tell this isn't normal. This would never be like this. There would never be this many people, and you're speaking to staff and speaking to doctors and stuff like that. And then we've got, alhamdulillah, with the power of the internet, we've got a large community of Muslim, young Muslim guys like me and you that are doctors now that we've known, like there's doctors that I've known for years.
Yeah.
And I would never think that they're going to just turn around and say, oh yeah, it's all a hoax. But they're telling me that they're running out of spaces in beds. Do you know what I mean? They're not going to turn around all of a sudden and start lying to me. And what is this big government agenda that we're trying to... Now, if people are capitalizing on it, then yeah, people capitalize on everything. People capitalize on wars. Like a lot of wars are fought and people make money and people capitalize on that. But, at the end of the day, if you choose to not believe it doesn't exist, then fair enough. If people choose to believe it exists and wants to take their precautions, then let them be, whatever. But I think everyone should try and stay safe regardless. I think everyone should show each other some respect and courtesy. And especially for people with kids, man, like you can't take that risk because you just don't know. Wallahi, you don't know. Because like I said, Ilyas was ill for a day or two. Some kids aren't, and some kids don't make it, and some adults don't make it, and some. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot now. It's quite scary, really. There's a lot of brothers now. Even in my group chat, actually, group chat full of brothers. When it first came about, we were all sort of, admittedly, scoffing at the idea that we'd ever reach as big as it is. And now, actually, there's brothers in my group chat whose mothers are severely ill, parents are severely ill. Some people have had their relatives, die. SubhanAllah. Yeah, so you've got to show some respect. These are Muslims that we're talking about. These are Muslim brothers and sisters that are going through hardships like this. So,
yeah, I agree. I don't want to add anything because I agree with what you're saying. Like I've seen it, experienced it, in terms of seeing it in my own family and outside of that. So, yeah. We got a question for you, Mohammed. This is question for Akhi Tweet. Do you think that comparing is healthy for you? Yeah, I was gonna say that as well. You were just talking about the walking thing and stuff. Yeah. I had a similar experience with one of my friends. His son was born just a few months earlier than Zakaria, and Zakaria was doing some things before my friend's son, right? Like this kind of like walking and stuff like that. But then also his son was doing other things before Zakaria, and so there is a balance. It's like sometimes it's like what we see on the surface, right? Like you see like this guy's walking first, but that other boy might be, physically a bit slower
Yeah.
at this point, but mentally like a lot more advanced than for example my son and stuff like that. So I think like you said, like at this age, like 1, 2, like you can't. I think they're just rough, right? Like
Yeah.
an example is Zachary. Actually, that's actually a great example because Zachary did start walking quite early for his age, and which alhamdulillah was beautiful. But we were concerned about his teeth because we actually ended up taking him to a doctor's once. I don't think for his teeth, and then we took him anyway, and then we ended up asking about his teeth. But he didn't teeth until really late, and the doctor said to us, I think by now we were on like month 11, and he still had no teeth, right?
Yeah.
And we said to the doctor, "Is that something to be concerned about?" And he said, you know, when you ask a doctor, like, if something's to be concerned about, they normally just say, like, oh,
Nah.
no. Or
Yeah,
they'll
yeah.
say, maybe. But it's worse when they're like, and he gave that response. We were like, is this something to be concerned about? He goes, well, to be honest, the range of when children start teething could be anywhere from like 5. He said like, I think he said like 4 or 5 months until like 12 months. And he said
Right.
he was like, so he's definitely on the latter part of that scale. And I was like, okay, where you going? And he was like, but I wouldn't refer him until it got to maybe like 13, 14 months and he still had no teeth. So
Right.
that's the response I got. So then obviously that makes you more concerned because you think, oh my gosh, we're on like the final month of this spectrum that's been laid out for us. But then like I think at like 12 months, bro, or like 11 months, really late, he started showing his first tooth, and obviously after that, when it rains it pours. He's now got 4.
Like Burdick.
Allahumma barik. But it happened late, and other parts of him advanced very quickly, like I said, with walking, and he's already talking to himself. He's not obviously speaking real language, but he's doing the whole Google Gaga, like having a conversation with himself kind of thing.
Yeah.
And he understands so he's a real big fan of cars that he's a big fan of cars anyway, but he's a big fan of toys that do things like you got a shape and it has to fit in the right shape, like
Right.
hole and or like building and stuff like that. So Alama Berdik, he's quite intelligent with that kind of stuff, man.
Yeah.
That's actually one of the things I was going to ask you. I was going to say, what state, like, I know your boys are 4 and 1, but what stages are they at? Like, what does Suleiman do? You kind of told us earlier what Suleiman does, but what does Ilyas do nowadays?
He's a big follower. I've realised we've come to accept that today, that he follows us everywhere. So you can't put him down and let him play with his own sort of stuff. Like especially his mum, he'll follow his mum everywhere. She'll go to the kitchen, he'll crawl all the way there, follow her. If he doesn't like it, we've discovered now that if he can't see her, he'll start crying. So I'm feeling like he's getting a bit more attached. So like yesterday, I kind of stood in front of his mum, just to sort of. And then he started crying. As soon as I'd look back at him, he'd be fine. But as soon as you couldn't see his mum again, and then the same thing, he would start following. Whenever she leaves the room, he'll follow, crawl out. But then again, it's because he's just started crawling. So maybe he's curious. Maybe he just wants to, It's hard to say, bro. It's quite hard to say what he's into because his whole life has been in lockdown.
Yeah,
pretty much.
exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it was only a few weeks before that I took him. I think it first took him to like a play park, like not play park, but those like indoor sort of soft play areas and stuff.
Yeah, we took him to that as well.
And I think he was a bit bewildered by it all. Like, but he's still quite young. So it's hard, I think, at his stage to say what he's into. Suleiman, on the other hand, he's got all his likes and dislikes. And
does Suleiman like dinosaurs?
Oh, bro, absolutely.
I was thinking about this
Absolutely,
dinosaur
bro.
thing, right? And because why do kids like dinosaurs so much?
I googled it, bro. I had to Google it because I thought back to when I was younger, and I was like, yeah, I remember having dinosaur stickers on my wardrobes, and I was into dinosaur movies and stuff like that. Yeah, I definitely. Let me see.
So when you Googled it, what did it say? Because I was thinking about this today. I was thinking, why do children love dinosaurs so much? Especially considering that they don't see any. Like when they're out and about, they're not like, oh, there's a dinosaur. Like, oh, now I'm interested in them. And also, dinosaurs are a complicated thing for children to like. Part of me kind of also thinks that maybe it's something to do with like how media has fashioned it, right? Like they've created dinosaur programs and stuff. But I actually think it must be the other way around. I think it must be that children were interested in dinosaurs, and therefore media started creating cartoons of dinosaurs and stuff. Because
Possibly,
why would you proactively? Why would you sit at a board meeting going, right, we've got to get children's attention? how we can do it, and they go,
But
let's think of a complicated animal that has so many different like so many different versions.
yeah.
And it has all versions have such long names, they're hard to remember.
But
Like,
there's something there, bro. Like, it's the same reason. Well, I don't know about yourself, but like, kids got into. I know I loved Pokemon growing up, and it's that same thing, bro. There's an itch there about like collecting and loads of different like monsters and species and stuff like that. And dinosaurs are so fantastical, sharp teeth, aggressive. They scream a lot. They break things. They smash things. It's especially boys, bro. There's something there that scratches that itch. However, I think the understanding of dinosaurs has been very like sensationalized. Like, they're not all just stomping and crashing and destroying things all the time, 24/7. But that's the only thing that kids want to do with as soon as they get a dinosaur toy. He just wants to start breaking things with it and smashing stuff. But yeah, we've got too many dinosaurs in the house, I think. Loads and loads and loads of dinosaur toys. He even had a dinosaur costume at one point. He may be growing out of it a little bit now, but it's still very much there.
were dinosaurs? Oh, I'm gonna sound so dumb here. Were they a real thing?
Okay, I've had big arguments with people.
Is it Islamically?
There's nothing in Islam to say that they didn't exist. And there's a lot of. We're gonna get all the conspiracy theories out now.
Oh, so we don't know if they exist or not for sure. Nobody knows.
No. Scientifically speaking, we're very sure that they existed. When it comes to fossil evidence, when it comes to all sorts of sort of archaeological finds and stuff.
And there's nothing Islamically complicated.
There's nothing there's nothing Islamically complicated to say that they didn't exist.
You sure we're not gonna have to make an apology video?
No, there's nothing. I've even looked this up.
Next episode of
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can create all things and has created all things since he decided to create anything and everything. There may have been creations before us, and there may be creations after us. Allah knows best.
I think though, if we're saying that dinosaurs existed, right, then definitely, as like generations have gone, we've really romanticized and exaggerated and creatively come up with all of these like
a lot of
personality traits of dinosaurs. If they did exist, I do not think they were as interesting as we seem to have made them.
A lot of dinosaurs that you see are not 100%, of what they are. So they'll find fragments and then they'll model the rest of it based on what they think it could be. For example, one I was looking at recently, Spinosaurus. All right, Spinosaurus is one that has changed so many times because they've only ever had fragments of it. Okay, so it's like this typical dinosaur that they've had. It's bipedal that they've drawn it as, with a big sort of fin on its back. All right, you might recognize that. And for ages they were like, oh, it walks on land and stuff. And then they found it they couldn't explain the dorsal fin on the back. So then I think they found more fragments and thought, oh, actually it was a river. It used to swim in the river and stuff like that. And then it was this year, no, not this year, but 2020, they found like fragments or like a larger sort of find in, I think it was in Morocco. And they realized that its tail this tail was massive. So it wasn't just like a normal sort of dinosaur tail. It was like a big sort of fat kind of like alligator tail. So they kind of, their theory now is that it was more of a sea sort of dweller, like a giant alligator type thing. Yeah. But yeah, you can, if you Google it, it's a simple Google thing that will show you like a lot of the famous dinosaurs. It will show you it will show you a skeleton and it will show you how much of it they've actually found compared to the rest of it that they haven't. And actually you realize all these famous dinosaurs, they've only ever found, the most they've found are fragments, really small fragments that they try and theorize and put together. Even now, bro, like a typical idea of a T-Rex is a is a like scaly
short arms.
Yeah, and it's all scaly and stuff. But actually, they found evidence that a lot of them were feathered. A lot of dinosaurs were feathered, kind of like chickens, So yeah, the science continues. And actually, at the end of the day, as much as people want to debate it, I find all this ilm, bro, is the property of the believer, as they say. At one time, Muslims were the forefront of science, and if Muslims continue to be in the forefront of science, these would all be things and that the discoveries that Muslims would have made regardless. Muslims have made discoveries in the past that were also, looked at with questionable eyes and stuff, but actually ended up becoming the facts or the normative sort of model. I think it's because we're so detached from the scientific world these areas of ilm, bro, that we kind of doubt it all. If we were living in if we were living in Islamic Spain and they came up with all these sort of discoveries, wouldn't really question it. We'd think, oh, subhanallah, that's amazing. But because
I don't doubt it or believe it. I nothing it. It doesn't it doesn't affect me in any way whether dinosaurs existed.
When your kids are into something, you've got to try and get
that's true.
involved. And that's the main thing we're talking about. This,
but that's true. That's true.
Like my son's crazy about it. So when he's naming them all to me and stuff, I find that, bro. Like I'm sure you're a kid. At one point, you had parents. You still have parents, alhamdulillah. And we'll always have parents, alhamdulillah. And you're always going to have that time where you wanted to show your parents something and they weren't too interested, and you probably still remember what that feels like. And I don't want that to be my son, because I want to develop that kind of connection now. You ever listen to the story of Yusuf alayhi salam, and when he's speaking to his father about the dreams that he had? Yeah. Right. And that relationship in the Quran is so powerful. Reason being is that Yusuf alayhi salam went to his dad and told his dad, oh, this is a dream I've had. And his dad advised him, oh, don't tell anyone about this dream, because obviously people may feel jealous. Your brothers may feel jealous about this dream that you've told. And the fact that there was that relationship, Akhi, like I don't think I could come and sit to my dad and say, oh, I had this dream, what do you think it means? And the words that we use, yeah, bunay, you know what I mean? The emphatic love that's in those words, it's deep, bro. It's powerful. And that's what I mean. I want my relationship with my sons, especially. Well, I've only got sons, but in the one day a daughter. But for now, a relationship with my sons to be one where there is an element, obviously a strong element of respect, but also transparency, where they can talk to me about anything. And it's a genuine interest that I'm showing in things. It's not just oh, yes, cool, whatever. I'm busy right now, whatever, talk to me later about it.
Yeah, I think in this generation we are going to see a big rise in that, bro, because I think a lot of people do have that barrier with their parents now. And the reason is because we've grown up in a different society to our parents for the most part. We've grown up in different countries. We've grown up with different values even, and understanding. And so with technology growing, that has a massive thing to do with it, because in some ways we have more knowledge than our parents in some things, right? Like technology, and what that must do to the ego must also cause a barrier between you and a parent as well, because you almost think I have to teach my dad the computer, and it's like all of a sudden you feel this ego or this thing that I know more than them, right? That could be an element of it, but also I think the main thing being that we've lived different lives. And I was mentioning somewhere else that on the last podcast actually, that my dad has told us stories in the past of when he his day, what it used to be like when he was a school child, and his day would be wake up early in the morning around Fajr time and go to the farm, pick the vegetables for the day that then his mum would cook, and also then after school go to the market and sell the vegetables that he picked and stuff like that. And obviously we haven't been through that, and so there's that massive boundary and barrier, and so the relatability is not there. Whereas I think now in this generation, I hope that we're kind of growing with our children in the same kind of society and that kind of stuff.
You'd like to think that, actually, but you know what? I think
I'm probably wrong, aren't I?
Because so even at work, I'm dealing with kids all the time, and I'm just.
So that man's like, Dad, you just don't get AI, man.
Bro. Okay, you know what? I've started. I've noticed now that I've started drawing the line on things that I refuse to accept and refuse to get on board with. Like one thing is like TikTok. Like I refuse to get on board with TikTok, but then. If I'm drawing the line now on that, then it means I'm going to start drawing the line on a lot of things that come after that, which automatically means that's it. I'm cut off that generation now. And another thing,
that's a good point.
You and I are very similar in age, right? So YouTube is a platform that, we'd say the golden age of YouTube was like 2006, 2007, or whatever. YouTube now is not what it was back then. Our understanding of it is very much molded by what we used to use it for back then. Maybe more so myself because I'm not a content creator. But a lot of stuff I used to watch is quite wholesome and quite clean and quite whatever. And that was my understanding. It still shapes my understanding of what my subscriber feed is and what my algorithm is showing me and stuff like that. But these kids, bro, especially like my son and his generation, they've grown up with whatever YouTube is now being the norm and established
Yeah,
and
that's a good point.
exists.
Yeah,
And they've grown up with it as being a fact of life. YouTube for me and you is
you're
still
right.
very much a new phenomenon because we've seen it become new. But kids that are
Yeah,
born
it's
into it,
implemented in their life.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's it. Because like for our parents, for example, I don't know how old your parents are, but I know my parents can tell me when they first ever started seeing TV, start watching TV, and when they first got TV back in, wherever they're from. But then we've grown up with TV always being a fact of life, always being established. So we don't really think of it being this new thing.
Mm.
But if you speak to someone quite elderly, everything's new to them. Okay, the TVs are new to them, electric cars are new to them, computers are new to them. That's why they shun it all. Because why? What stops the typical elderly person from not wanting to use a computer? Because they drew a line at some point in their life where they're like,
Yeah, and
oh,
also
not
change.
gonna...
Like people don't like change, right? It's like if it's not broken,
Yeah,
don't fix it. I think
yeah,
naturally as humans we're like that. Like
yeah,
I hate change, and so
yeah,
for someone to say, "Oh, now you've been driving a petrol car for 60 years, go electric," you were like,
yeah.
I'm fine. I'm just fine how I am." You're right, bro. I can completely imagine a conversation, but like you calling Ilyas when you're older, being like, "Ilyas, can you come over here? My robot's not working properly.
Yeah.
My robot's cooking me the wrong meals." He's like, "Dad, I configured your robot for you
Yeah,
last time, and
yeah.
I'm busy."
But some people aren't, bro. Like even some people, our peers, are not as technologically sort of apt as
Yeah, yeah,
we are.
yeah.
You know? What was I gonna? My mind went blank there. I was gonna mention something else. Yep, it's gone. I can't remember. It's gone.
Yeah, no
Don't
worries.
worry.
But no, you're right. That perhaps I'm like being like idealistic by saying that. Oh yeah, I'm so gonna be able to relate to my children. But you're right, man. Like that's what a generation is, isn't it? There's a gap. That's why it's called the generation gap.
That's it.
Um,
I was
and
gonna
like
say.
even our morals and values, even though we want to teach our morals and values to our children
Yeah.
and keep them have Islamic morals and values, there might be other values outside. There might be other values that they've grown up in, or like there might be some values that they find harder to implement
Mm,
and some that they find easier from Islam, right? That we need to work on. We won't relate to it. Like we were like, well, when we were younger, like
yeah.
maybe we had an issue with like I don't know, X, right? Like even though like this was Islamically the right thing to do,
Yeah.
we found this particular thing difficult. Like a random thing. Let's say for example, listening to music, right? Like we were like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
we yeah, fair enough. We found it listening, but we would never find like that difficult. But now your
Yeah.
generation is finding that difficult. Like, how is that even a thing?
Yeah. But
I don't know.
it's the on, like right now we live in the like on demand sort of generation, bro. Everything
Yeah,
is on demand. Like you can have, like even the fact like before, bro, to get a movie, for example, and you wanted to watch it, you'd have to go to the actual DVD rental shop or video rental shop and spend ages picking there, and then get something and bring it back home, and it was like a
yeah,
whole
yeah, yeah.
event. It was a whole event, and like just now, I downloaded a trial for Amazon Prime, and literally everything's on there, and it's just download it. There you go. It's there for you if you so choose. Same thing with food, bro. Even like food. Like I don't remember food deliveries when I was younger. It probably
Oh,
existed, but I don't
bro.
remember.
Bro,
I don't.
100%. Like you could
Bro, I
now you could think of wanting something and then it arrives. Like
yeah
imagine when we were younger, like if we fancied a Nando's, we'd be like, oh, like Dad, we want Nando's, and like he might take us next week to
yeah
Nando's,
yeah
like
yeah
find time.
yeah
Now, even if he's busy from work, like if I'm
yeah.
busy, I'm at work, I could just order a Nando's. Oh wow,
I
you're right, man.
remember
It's different.
fast food was like an event. We used to live in Essex,
Yeah,
um, and I think
such a
obviously I
lad.
was quite young. Well, that's where I was born, bro.
I'm
And
an
I
Essex
remember
lad,
like
born and raised.
my dad would drive us, I think, into London to get a kebab. And same thing like fish and chips and stuff. Like we'd have to go once a week to a particular place, and it was like an event. It was like
Yeah,
okay,
we've
cool.
lost that now. You're right.
And now it's like, oh, are you hungry? It's just, but that's it. This is what I mean. These are big differences that we kind of overlook. There's this
Yeah.
big on demand thing. Even something as slow, bro. Like you remember the dial up tone. I remember the dial up tone for what was it, pre broadband dial up internet. Like I remember
Yeah, I
that. I
remember
remember
when
having some
I remember
flavors.
when you couldn't use the phone if you
Yeah,
had to use the internet.
dude.
Bro, do you know
I
what else that I'm just thinking
yeah
about now is stuff like Oh, one brother just said, "I feel connected to you, brothers, being a graduate in criminology." Yes, me and Mohammed are both graduates of criminology, which is an interesting fact. We both share the same degree. We are both bachelors of science,
Oh, wow.
uh, social science. But
Hey, that's important, bro.
yeah, what?
that's
Huh?
that's what we're
Science,
doing
science
now.
is science.
We do podcasts now. That's what
Yeah, now we
our
do
is.
podcasts. We're
Social.
scientific podcasters. Um, Bro, so what I was thinking that what you just mentioned actually reminded me of something like really cool. This idea of the novelty of stuff like food delivery wearing off, and our kids not having that. Um, Although I do think that there'll be something new. So like when they have kids, they'll go, when we were younger, we'd have to order food and it would be delivered in like 30 minutes. And they'll be like, I don't
Yeah.
know, before you think about it, it's just like your meal is selected for you. I don't know, and it rises through the, like, through the TV, it just like comes out. I don't know. But anyway, you know what that made me think of? It made me think of when you were talking about your childhood and going to the shops and it being an event. And I'll use Nando's again as an example, because for us, doing something like going to Nando's was an event. And now it's only just, the penny's only just dropped as to why. And that's probably because there was 4 of us, right, children. But as a family, there was like, you're talking 5 or 6 people.
Yeah.
And so for us to go for a trip to Nando's, it was exclusive for 2 reasons. A, you have to drive to the halal Nando's, first of all, yeah?
Yeah.
So it might be further than other ones. And obviously you have to physically go there. So dad has to be available, mum has to be available. All of these kind of things have to align.
Yeah.
And then you go. So like maybe next Saturday we'll go, and it's an event. Like it's prepared. Like, all right, next Saturday we're going Nando's. So like schedule's clear. But the other thing that made me think of is that perhaps it's also to do with finances, because if you're taking 5 people Nando's, bro, you're spending £70.
True.
Right? Like we look at it now, like, oh mate, if I order Uber Eats now, it's going to cost me 15 quid. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, or 20 quid, because there's not really, like, Zachariah doesn't eat.
Yeah.
He eats, but as in, like, he's not really going to eat out. Like, his food's mainly prepared at home. And then, like, you're spending 15 quid, 20 quid, like, it's what, £7 each. But if I had 4 kids, bro, then even for my kids, bro, best know that Nando's is going to be an event, because I'm not spending 100 quid. But my dad probably had to spend £100 every time we went out for food. So that probably makes sense as to why these things were a luxury. Also, bringing it full circle, is that the Nando's that we used to go to as children, the halal one that's far away, recently I discovered that Nando's is now on Deliveroo and delivers to my house.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it's so weird, because back then I would have done anything, like, we're all going Nando's.
Let's go.
And now it's been on my app, bro, and I've literally not ordered it once.
Yeah.
The novelty is just completely, it's just crazy. It's like, as you become an adult, like, the things that you like look at it with like rose tinted glasses as a child, adulthood kind of spoils those things.
Oh, definitely.
Doesn't it?
Bro, I remember like having, that's another thing, like it's the way that you start losing interest in things is so subtle.
Yeah,
like, so now when like when Suleiman's like having a bath and stuff, he takes some of his toys with him and he's like playing with his toys and making up stories and stuff. And I remember so vividly doing that, like it was yesterday. Like I remember doing that and being so excited and having so much fun doing that. And now, like, it's just weird. Like I'm trying to theoretically, hypothetically think, okay, could I still have fun doing that now? And I can't. Obviously it'd just be ridiculous. But I still have that memory of it being super fun and exciting. So you don't know when that change happened or how subtle that is. And that obviously carries on throughout your whole life. Like things you just lose interest in. And you'll see it in your kids, bro. I'm sure there'll be a day, Akhi, where you might get your kid something, or you might go and want to play with him with something, and he'll just shun it because he's actually not interested. I was interested in that last week. I'm not interested in it now, sort of thing.
I think the other thing has to do with the fact that their relationship with things is the fun that they get out of them. It's not to do with the money. It's not to do with other stresses. Like as you get older, you have other responsibilities, other stresses, other things that are important to you, and therefore you minimize the importance of like things, and then also the monetary value poisons you a bit, because that's a £2 toy. Like what am I going to do with that? Oh, that's a £10,000 car, even though I can't drive it. I'd love to have it. Do you know what I mean? So Zachariah, like one of the things Zachariah loves to do nowadays is we have this box which like we fit some of his blocks in, some of his toys, some of his Lego,
Yep.
and he just loves getting inside the box. And he's one of his favorite things is just getting inside the box. He has so much fun doing that, just like sitting in the box. And that could be a cardboard box, bro, but it's so fun for him, and it's so pure to see a child just enjoying the fact that they've they've got themselves to fit inside a box, you know? Like, oh, look at me, like I fit in a box.
I'm in a box.
Yeah.
Man, I love it, man.
Oh man, it's just so precious, man. You don't appreciate
It's that innocence, subhanAllah. And you know what? That innocence is going to start slowly fading away, Akhi, when they start talking.
Have you noticed that already with Suleiman?
Oh, definitely, bro.
Really?
He can really, fight his corner, subhanAllah. He knows what he wants. He so I'll give you an example. Like, sometimes, you've got to learn how to sort of discipline kids, right? And one of the things I'll do is like, okay, you don't want to, for example, sometimes he won't finish his food. He won't eat his food, right? He's not into certain food. Well, okay, if you don't finish your food, then you're not, I don't know, you're not playing this, or we're not going to read this, or you're not going to have whatever. And he's like, okay. I'm like, oh, no, that's not what you're meant to say. And he'll do that now. SubhanAllah, we realised this week. Like, I'll just start laughing to myself, because he'll be like, I can't remember what I said to him yesterday. I can't remember, some sort of game that we play or some. I was like, okay, you're not going to finish your food. All right, no games for you then. And he goes, okay, no games for me. And I was like, whoa, what do you mean no games?
No.
I was like, all right, well, you're not. I was like, you're not going to play any games then. No more games with Dad.
No
like,
games.
Okay. And then he'll say it as I said it. He'll be like, yep, no games, no more games with Daddy. Okay.
That's so weird.
What do I do? I'm not prepared for that, bro.
Oh no, you have to find more things that he values.
Oh man, there's nothing you can do. He's like, okay, he would rather have his own way and sacrifice whatever, than, but, it's difficult.
My brother was telling me that he had that situation with his daughter.
Yeah.
And so he would say, like, eat your food, or, you're going to have to go on the naughty step or whatever. And she'd say, okay, I'll go on the naughty step. And he's like, okay, so you're going to go on the naughty step. She's like, yeah. And he's like, no, you can change that by eating your food. He's like, no, don't want my food. And so then what he did, but then he said that what he did is when he followed it through, she realized that he was serious, and then she ate the food. So she's not at the age yet where she's fully going against it, but when he took her to the step and she sat on it and he walked away, then she was like, okay, fine, I'll eat my food.
But
I think they try and push your buttons and see how far you'll take it.
You'll get guilt tripped easy. Like, a few weeks ago, I can't remember for the life of me what Suleiman did, but we said, okay, that's it, you're going to bed. And he went to bed, and usually he sleeps at 7, and it was like 5 o'clock. And he went to bed, and then, like, usually what would happen is he'll run back and say sorry, he'll run back and try and joke about and play. And then we hadn't heard from him in like 10 or 20 minutes, so we went in there. He fell asleep at 5. And I was like, oh my god, and I just felt so guilty, because it was like, but we definitely did it for the right reason. Like, we sent him there with the understanding, the expectation that he's going to keep trying to come back, and then we're eventually going to give in, but he's going to do as he's told. But yeah, man, and it's just hard. It's heartbreaking stuff.
Bro, you know what, bro? I'd say, yeah. I think that one prediction I have with fatherhood is that I don't think I'm going to struggle with following through on punishments and stuff. And the reason I think I'm not going to struggle with it is because the way I was raised is my mum would follow through with punishments. And I think that's so amazing about the way I've been raised, because she instilled this thing in us where we believed what she would say. So she would say, like, if you don't do, so she was really soft on a lot of things, which helps that, because she wasn't always harsh. Yeah. But then when it got to something that was taking the mick, I don't know, answering back to her or something, rolling your eyes, things like that, she would have none of it, and you'd get punished for it, and she'd follow through with that punishment, whatever it is, like if it's being sent to your room or whatever. The point was that we took her seriously. And so because I now see the value in that, I hope that I'm going to be the same with Zachariah now. If I say to him, this is what's going to happen now, I hope that the puppy dog eyes are not going to, convince me otherwise.
It depends though, Akhi, because you've got to think, I mean, are you both going to be on board with the same thing? Like, you and your partner, your missus, are you both going to be very strong in the face of those puppy dog eyes Because, bro, it
Yeah.
happens all the time. Like, if my wife will tell him off, I'll feel bad because I'm not involved in this conversation with him, and I'll come in and I'll be like, "Oh, that's really," and then I'll completely ruin the whole thing that she's trying to establish here, and sometimes vice versa. Like sometimes I'll tell him off, and then she'll feel like, "Oh, maybe it was a bit too much," or she won't agree with it, or whatever. We're both on the same page with everything, but in that particular moment, you just can't help but feel like, oh, you want to be the hero here. You want to save them. You want to, and they'll
Yeah.
do that, and they're sensitive to that. I suppose they'll know which parent to run to in each situation. Um, it's constant. You
Yeah,
just
I
constantly have to be
think
aware of it.
yeah, I can see that happening. Like I think already like my wife is the one that's like you know softer to him like
Do you think
you
so?
know yeah, and I'm going to be the harsh one, and I have to accept that, bro. Like it's I don't think I think on really serious matters like it's going to have to be like, look, we have to be a partnership here, but generally
No, of course.
yeah, I think that like I can't I've tried like even with the sleep training like it was me who had to do it because I had to kind of be really um I had to like be strong on it, man. I'm like, no, you're
Mm.
not coming into our bed. Like you're sleeping in your own bed now, and
Yeah,
it's hard. But
yeah. We get. I mean, we've got the same thing now. Uh, we've actually like established no nappies, right, for Suleiman.
oh
Um,
wow,
Yeah, and trying to learn how to do that. And actually, we're doing really well. He's hardly had any accidents whatsoever. The only difficulties we may have sometimes is when he's out and about because he can't really find toilets and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, so what, for advice in terms of doing that, what we do is we'll keep waking him up to use the toilet. So like when he goes to bed, obviously before he goes to bed, he uses the toilet, and then usually one of us is going to be up later than that for a few hours. So before one of us goes to bed, we'll take him to the toilet, and then I think because my wife wakes up, if I'm up late anyway, I'll take him to the toilet at like even before way before Fajr time and stuff. But obviously she's still waking up a lot with Ilyas. She'll take him to the toilet. So basically just keep getting him up, keep waking him up throughout the night, take him to the toilet, and then he won't wet the bed. Um, Once I think it happened where he did, despite the fact that we took him like 3 or 4 times. But you know, the fact that he now knows that gets him into a routine of then knowing. Um, and an interesting thing is like now that he's got it in him to hold it in because when you're taking him to the toilet, he's still very much going. So it means that during that time whilst he was sleeping, he could have gone, but he didn't. His body stopped himself from doing so. Do
mm,
you understand? As opposed to
yeah,
someone having absolutely no control
that's
whatsoever.
interesting.
Um, so yeah, that's what we're doing. I think obviously my wife must have established that, and I'm just helping her like follow on that because it wasn't a conversation we had. She just came to me and told me, "Oh, this is what we're doing now." So that was it. So it's pretty good, pretty good. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
Obviously, it was something for you in the future. It might be still early days for you, bro.
yeah, it's definitely early days. But my plan is so my father-in-law has already said like apparently my father-in-law trained like all of his children and all of his nephews, all of his nieces. Like he's trained all of the kids in like their whole family,
Mm,
potty trained them all because like he's apparently really good at it. Apparently his brother, who has Allahumma barik, like 5 children,
mm.
um, taught. I think like he like sent his kids to him or something. I'm not quite sure of the story, but point is he's quite a pro at it. So my plan is pretty much to give Zechariah to my father-in-law for the period of potty training.
Oh dear. I think your mic just switched, bro.
My mic, yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
think
yeah.
you
For
used.
you it would have because I think my AirPods have just died.
Oh, right, fair
Um,
enough.
but for the audience, for the stream, it should be fine because I'm
All right,
using a
cool.
separate mic. Um, but I think that's a good time to cut it up. Cut it, man. It's been an hour and it's been a great hour at that. It's our first
Alhamdulillah.
episode of Dad's Dunya, and inshallah we'll be back at some point next week. So as we mentioned at the beginning of the episode, that with Mohammed's job in the emergency services, it just means that we can't select a specific day, but it will always be evening, probably around 7:30 p.m.
Inshallah.
Is what we'll aim for, and it will always be live streamed, inshallah, for now. And so that's that. And I have nothing else to say. Do you have anything to say, Mohammed?
Yeah, I think obviously it was just getting our footing, and inshallah, I suppose next episode we'll get more involved in what the community is saying in the chat. I think we hadn't really prepared really this time around, but I hadn't spoken to you in a long time as well.
That's a good shout. So a few pointers is that, first of all, because we don't know exactly when we don't know when we'll do the episodes, it's really important that you guys subscribe to Freshly Grounded and even hit the notification bell, because if you subscribe, you'll obviously see the episodes, as opposed to just because it will be random, right? It'll be hard to explain or to know, and we're most likely just going to go with a randomly go on. I think Mohammed's frozen, so that's happened, and also if you guys want to support support the stream, you can do so via, I believe, super chat. So that is completely welcome and appreciated, and would help support the stream, and it helps support Freshly Grounded in general. So please do not shy away, and we'll be always appreciative of any support that you guys give the stream via super chat. And that's it. You paused for a bit. You froze for a bit, Mohammed.
I don't know if it was me or you, but it was both ends. Yeah, I was going to say, like, it won't be like on the day. I'm sure I could let you know a few days before that we'll do it on a particular day, so that you can get it out there if you need to a few days before.
I think the advantage of just springing up on people is an increase in subscribers, because they'd never know.
Fair enough.
Now, it'd be good to give at least like some notice. You're right.
Yeah, fair enough, bro.
All right, bro. Mohammed, it's been a pleasure. And to those watching on the live stream, it's been a pleasure as well. Those who are watching after the stream, please do comment below and let us know your thoughts, advices, and your suggestions for future episodes of Dad's Dunya. This is Dad's Dunya, for dads, by dads, and also for everybody else, by dads.
Alhamdulillah.
Assalamu alaikum, guys.
Assalamu alaikum.